In case you missed it, you're allowed to be hot, smart, and rich. So let's get into it. Bryony?
Hello.
I was actually going to say your full first and last name, and then I was like, wait, I don't know if she changed her last name. So currently, What is your last name?
Bryony Basse.
Speaking of, for people that don't listen, or don't know you, you just had your wedding, which we came to, which was honestly amazing. Aww. And it's so funny because I met you and your now husband had actually met my boyfriend, / you met him at the same time.
I met Courtney before I met you.
Okay, yeah. But did you and Casper meet Courtney at the same time?
Yeah, at the same dinner with Lauren and Michael.
And then tell everyone the story of your intuition.
I love this because Lauren, I had never met you.
No.
Never met you. And I followed you on TikTok and I don't even know if I actually followed you yet, which is interesting, but you were coming up.
Okay.
And I feel like you are really good at like your identity.
Yeah.
And your brand identity and everything was so strong that I had you like in my brain, you know what I mean? Weirdly, without even knowing you or following you or knowing that we even had mutual friends. I had no clue. So then Lauren said to me, "Oh, do you have any friends for Courtney?" And I was like, it's so weird. I swear to you, I said no. Like I have single friends.
Yeah.
But I didn't suggest anyone. I was like, what about that girl, Maggie Sellers, that finance, like investor girl? And then Lauren was like, oh yeah. Like, and then you actually were dating.
Yeah. We had like just started seeing each other. I remember that was like the first time he went away to St. Bart's where you guys met. And then he brought me back like a postcard and a little gift. And he was like, I just like picture you being here with my family like, the next time. And it was so funny because when you had told me that story, I was like laughing so hard and like underneath being like, should I tell them that I'm already like seeing him? But didn't you say that Lauren also knew kind of? Or like, how did that?
I don't know whether she was like bluffing or whether she was like, like they already like knew that, but it wasn't out there yet. I don't know. But all I know is that I had no reason to suggest you, but I suggested you. I called it. I'm psychic.
I was going to say, do you always feel like you have really good intuition?
I think I'm a good judge of character.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
I think I know straight away.
So we just came back from your wedding, which was honestly amazing.
Aww,
and I feel like a lot of the time when you're building a business, like you don't focus on the things that are like your personal life. And you've done such a good job of like keeping so much into perspective. And I think that's the best thing about having this podcast is getting to ask the questions that like sometimes might be weird as like a friend to friend asking, but I genuinely feel like so many people can benefit trying to understand how you've balanced everything so well.
Yeah.
While you were going through this wedding, it was like, tell us when you got engaged and then tell us when you got married and how you kept things into perspective as you were planning a true partnership ceremony and amazing wedding while you're building a business.
So we got engaged on Halloween.
Okay.
And then we got married 2nd of March. Well, actually, we got married. So, okay, there were a lot of things going on at the same time, which kind of like feeds into what you're saying. I was juggling a lot. So we moved to Copenhagen the day after we got engaged.
Yeah.
And so we were in Copenhagen. We already owned the place, but we like officially moved in and everything, like set up our life there and had to do like this whole business visa thing. Like I have a team in Copenhagen. I have a branch of my business in Copenhagen now. Did the whole thing. And then out of nowhere, I get deported.
Like, did someone come to your house and was
no, thank God. Imagine they're like, does Bryony live here?
Handcuffs, like, get out of here.
No, thank God that didn't happen. But they normally give you a week, but I had to travel the next day for work. I had to go to Paris with Dior to teach Pilates. So the Friday they told me, the Saturday I had to leave the country anyway. So like that was my exit.
So wait, sorry, how did they tell you?
They our lawyer, like we had been dealing with this lawyer and they basically were like, yeah, it's just a matter of time. Like, of course it will go through. It's fine. And the reason we didn't do the family visa is because we weren't married yet. We didn't want to rush that. And also they told us the business visa would be much quicker.
Yeah.
So anyway, they called us and was like, you have a week to leave Copenhagen. And I said, well, I have to leave the country tomorrow. And they were like, okay, then you have till tomorrow. So I had basically to pack for my wedding, my bachelorette, my honeymoon, Dubai for work, Paris for work, London. Like I had to pack my whole life for the next 2 months in like one evening and say
How many
goodbye to my
suitcases?
dog and stuff. Like it was so stressful. I know. So then luckily Casper took like half of my suitcases. I took half, and so I had to go via Paris. It was a lot, but actually, you know what? Sometimes these things happen for a reason, and it would just me being in London, like before the wedding, was probably a good thing because I was around, like able to do things, and I mean,
Do you think it's like just in your DNA that you can just let things slide off your back? Because I picture myself, and one of the things I want to talk about later on is just like this idea of balancing it all, because it's so hard. You want to be like the best partner, the best business entrepreneur, like the best creator, the best podcast host, the best friend. And I think it's interesting to hear really successful people say that like you can't be the best at everything at all times in your life. And I think for someone like you, listening to that already sparked anxiety in me of like, how would I even do that? Like I can't even pack for a trip for a week and not get anxious. So do you think that's ingrained in you, this sense of just like, I will figure it out? Or are there those ups and downs where you've had to learn how to just keep going amidst chaos?
So before I met Casper, I was such an anxious girl. Like I would freak out over packing for a trip, or like traveling, or going to the airport, or like catching a train somewhere, or I would have these thoughts, wouldn't sleep the night before, was very shy, like all of these things. And before Pilates, actually, I was super shy. So I was shy plus anxious and all these things.
Yeah.
So I've definitely figured it out along the way. I have not always been this way. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I obviously did have a bit of a meltdown, but I was then like, at the end of the day, when you can't control things, you have to just like surrender and be like, well, what is the point in me having a panic attack and crying right now versus me just like getting on with it? I've just got stuff to do. So just carry on and be calm. Like it's unproductive to feel and act like that, I think. So I'm quite tough in that respect. Like,
Okay.
And also Casper brings that out in me, I think, because he is quite like direct, black and white. He's not like soft, and he is in some ways, but in that kind of sense, he's like, okay, well, let's figure this out. And then I moved to London, and then we actually did I don't know if I actually told you this, but we went to Vegas a week before.
I knew that from your close friends. Yeah. I'm like, I literally go to Courtney, I'm lying in bed and I see your wedding video from Vegas and I go, Courtney, I think we're flying to London tomorrow, but Bryony's currently in Vegas, so I don't know what's going on.
I don't know the calculation. No, because we got deported, I had to cancel my legal wedding in Denmark. So then I was like, Casper, let's just go to Vegas. How fun. We'll fly in, literally go from the airport. We went to the Wynn, got married at the Wynn, like at the Lilac Salon. It was the funnest time ever. We were both like so drunk, and it was just like the funnest thing. We went via the casino on the way back from the wedding, put our wedding date on like each number. So 21, 2, 25, 21 hit. We were like, woo! Like it was literally like something out of a movie. It was so good. And then woke up, Casper got a tattoo saying what happens in Vegas lasts forever, and then we flew home.
And you got a tattoo of him on your neck?
That was a while ago.
Oh,
I got Vegas tattooed on my hand with the shape of my ring above it.
Oh my God. This is always what happens when I have friends on my podcast. I just want to go like a million different ways. But okay, going back to this idea of like Casper letting you, I think what you're saying is really putting you into your feminine.
Yeah.
Have you always been like that when you're in a relationship, or it was different as soon as you met Casper and you noticed that change within yourself?
So that's such a good question. And I feel like we can really like relate to that. But I think I've always wanted to be this exact mix and balance of someone super feminine at home and in her relationship, but then in business being like so on it, so ambitious, so driven. And that naturally is kind of like my more masculine side.
Yeah.
And I think typically the two aren't combined, but I've somehow figured out a way to do both. And I think having someone so like alpha, if you want to say that, helps. He's very, very direct, very
like
masculine.
leadership. Yeah.
He is, I think, one of the most like incredible leaders. Like I've never met anyone like him, and what he's done with his business and everything. I think that kind of comes into our relationship. So that's really nice.
Yeah. I feel like it's something that I'm still balancing and working on because to your point, like I just kind of organically that happened to me when I started dating Courtney.
Yeah.
But I think that there are still moments of struggle where I feel like I'm at a dichotomy or there's two paths to choose, which is like being a better partner or like family and more feminine in that way. And then it's like prioritizing the business.
Yeah.
You have now how large of a team with your business?
So now I have
6 full-time people that work for you.
5 full-time.
And so do you think that that makes it easier that you have a team
Yeah.
to like delegate and rely on and actually be able to pass work off and you can more be like the actually backing up, like where would you actually say with Pilates by Bryony, like you sit in the business today?
So that's an interesting question because I think last year the business was really scaling and I felt like so excited, so driven, but I was too in my kind of CEO era.
Yeah.
And I just want to be on the mat teaching people, making people feel as good as I feel every single day. And I don't want to mix the two too much because if I become too business focused, I'm out of the Pilates. Like I just want to be a Pilates teacher at the end of the day. So I've just hired a COO.
Oh my gosh, this is huge. When was
Yes.
this?
So he was actually at our wedding. I don't know if you met him, but he's incredible. He's Danish. He's called Per. He founded and launched Danish Masterclass.
Okay. Wow.
So he's amazing. So now he is our full-time COO. He actually, Casper introduced me, and Casper was like, you have to meet this guy. He's the most incredible talent, and especially when it comes to content-led businesses. And then originally when I met him, he was like, I can help you out for like a day or something. A day a week, and then he saw the business and saw like kind of where it was going and the current state, and he was like, okay, I'm all in. So he took full time.
Wow. So what is your role now today? Like what does a typical day look like for you with the business?
So my role is very content community heavy, and that is kind of where I want to stay. Like I love the creative side, coming up with the challenges, like all of the creative comes from me, but I then want to be able to have a team of experts that can drive that and execute on that. So I would say I'm content in terms of it's very much about me sharing things and tips and stuff. So I and my podcast and things, you know how intense that is. Our community is a huge part of the brand, to the point where, you know, we have a WhatsApp group with like 1,600 people talking every day all over the world, like in so many different cities. So that to me is something I want to nurture and spend time on. So those are the kind of like 2 pillars in my day. And then I do a lot of brand partnerships. So like I'm so lucky to be able to travel with Dior. And
okay, wait, can we stop? How did you become the Dior Global Wellness Ambassador?
You know what? It's so crazy to me still.
Because I say that I like literally tell my team, I'm like, not for me, Dior, but I'm like, there has to be something like my dream would be like Shopify, like female founder ambassador, where it's like I can bring.
You will 100% do that.
I'm putting that out into the universe. So I'm like, I actually need to know how this all came to be.
So I have an agency. So I have an agent that kind of manages any like brand partnerships, and she had a conversation with Dior, and they were so interested in Pilates. I think the thing with Dior and what they're doing in the wellness space is incredible, and they're a very reputable brand. So they don't want anything that is not how can I say, like very rooted. So they don't want like a trend. They don't want anything like too fluffy. They want something very kind of foundational, like rooted, science back. So the fact that I teach classical Pilates and contemporary combined and all the like Joseph Pilates work, they were very interested in that. I think it aligned really well with the house of Dior.
With being the global wellness ambassador for Dior, what does that role entail?
So I will do like a year-long partnership with them, and that is now rolling into our, I think, 2nd or 3rd year now. And they will plan a year ahead, different trips, different activations for either their influencers, celebrity, VIP clients, customers, hotel partners, whatever it is. So like I've done the most incredible once in a lifetime experiences with them through this. It's unbelievable. Like I've taught in the jungle in Malaysia. I've been on the Orient Express with them in Malaysia. What are the other things we've done? I feel like just so many things, like been to Dubai with them, like taught in the most insane places. We're doing another Orient Express trip in Scotland this year. I feel like I'm going, we've done Eden Rock.
I feel like there's a lot of people that don't understand the value of prioritizing being a creator as you're being an entrepreneur, because all the things that I'm hearing is like you get to work with one of the most like luxury respected fashion houses in the world that's been around for years, decades even, and take all of their learnings of like what makes an exceptional brand partnership, what makes an exceptional influencer trip, what makes an exceptional PR play, and bring that all back to Pilates by Bryony. How do you feel like all of your worlds of being a podcast host, a Dior wellness ambassador, like a creator, really feed into like how Pilates by Bryony has scaled and grown?
That's a really good question. I feel like, for example, when I go on to those Dior trips, they are so expansive because not only am I able to teach every morning or throughout the day, and the schedules are grueling, like I'm teaching a lot. I think I went to Dubai last time we did 6 classes in 2 days or something, and then the content. But when you are around a team like that, so I'm like on the mat teaching, but then in a business capacity, I'm like soaking it all in, thinking, wow, like this is so incredible. Like the things that they do in their team and everything, it's just unbelievable. But it's so, the word is expansive. Like you see how they put together, like on the outside, you just see this incredible trip.
Yeah.
But when you're there, like, for example,
you're not there as an influencer either. You're there as part of the experience. So you're like, I think the problem that a lot of these influencers have, because they're not thinking about the details and the bigger pictures, they go as a guest and that's their frame of mind. Whereas when you go as part of the experience, you're watching at like what time is set up at, like how long is there in between certain things. And those little details like make a difference in the impact that it has on the guest.
100%. You're soaking it all in. You're seeing like how many photographers they have there, how many videographers they have there, how they're then working with the PR team and the marketing team, how they're having dinner meetings. And then afterwards we're having fittings at 11 p.m. at night. Then we're waking up having our hair and makeup at 6 a.m. Like it's just this work ethic really inspires me. And that's what I love. Like I really love the mix of the well-being and the benefits and the life-changing aspect of Pilates mixed with this like incredible work ethic of creating something incredible that changes people's lives.
I feel like you've done such a good job putting that out there into the world as your personal brand. Like everything you're saying, I just picture it like story after story, repost after repost. And I think you're one of the few people where it's like you've been able to build this world of Bryony, now Basse, while you've built yourself as like Pilates by Bryony. So I guess like talk to me, for people that are listening and want to build a personal brand as strong as yours, was it as intentional as it comes across, or was it just like things you organically wanted to share?
So I think that this is probably a really annoying thing to hear, but when I started teaching Pilates, I had like no followers. I had maybe 4,000 followers, and I just started teaching on Zoom. Literally, this whole thing has snowballed. There were very intentional things along the way, like small details. Like I would have 10 people on that Zoom class, but I would make sure I took a selfie afterwards or took a picture of my mat, tagged those 10 people, then they reposted. Like that's such a small thing at the beginning, but it's something I remember because then they reposted and then their friends were like, ooh, what's this? And then maybe the next time I got 12 people on my class. And then, so those small things are intentional, but it comes from a place of pure love and wanting to spread what I'm doing and knowing like how much of an impact it's made on me, knowing I can give that to someone else. So I think if you're not coming from a place from that sort of place, especially in the wellness industry. I think people can so tell and see if you're not genuine.
Right.
I think it's different if you're like, you know, I don't know, the founder of, I'm trying to think, like Uber or something.
Right.
Okay, you're not spreading the love in that way or wanting people to.
But I think actually to that point now, no matter what business you're in, building a personal brand is so incredibly important. And I think one of the things that people always ask me is like, my mission, to your point, is like I had a why. It was like I wanted you to feel like you were at dinner with me and we could talk about everything that we would talk about at dinner, like boys, business, boob jobs, like everything, investing. And that's how my world kind of came to be. And I think there's so many people that are probably listening to this that are an entrepreneur, no matter what field they're in. And they're like, but I have other interests and I have things that I want to talk about. Like yours seems to have been weaved together so intentionally. I think it's like, when was that moment that you were like, okay, yes, I'm reposting Zoom classes and talking about Pilates, but now I'm going to talk about things that are actually maybe not wellness oriented, like my marriage or my dating or whatever it is that's built your personal brand into just people caring about you as a person.
It's interesting because I've recently been like reflecting on all of this because I am also like quite a private person still. But if you look at my profile, you might not think so, but I just think that actually I want people, when they're coming to my page or Pilates by Bryony, I want them to feel they're stepping into Pilates by Bryony world.
Yeah.
So that is all encompassing. And I think ultimately I want to build confidence, whether that's confidence in a relationship, in your career, in a meeting. So you're like walking into that room with a better posture, confident, you know, all of these things have a knock-on effect. And I think that it's not just about Pilates. It is the 360 that this makes an impact on. So I really appreciate that it's like, okay, what am I doing in the morning? Or what am I eating? Or, you know, now I'm in this super healthy, happy relationship. So I want to share that. And I want to just tell, especially women, young women, that all of this is possible.
Right.
Like I've changed my life drastically in a matter of years. I mean, we just had like the app's 3rd birthday the other day, and it's just crazy to think not that long ago I was on Zoom with 10 people. So I really, really ultimately want the message to be like, you can do this as well. You can achieve what's inside you.
I think that's why we've connected so deeply, because we've lived somewhat parallel lives and like obviously differences. But I think for me too, like I was even with somebody the other day and they've been with me for like the 5 years, or I've been here for 7 years in LA, but for the last 5 years. And they were just like, how crazy is it to you how different your life is? Like even recording in this house. And sometimes it's funny because I feel like when I was at my lowest point of like depression and business wasn't going well and I had failed and like I had just gotten out of a relationship and I had nowhere to live that was stable and my stuff, I feel like people were so supportive of that because people don't envy like the down, right? They're like, oh my God, like I love that she's being so vulnerable. And then it's interesting as you do put your life back together and you have everything that you've dreamt of, where it's like, that's where for the first time I sometimes am so afraid to share how happy I am because I'm like, I actually have built my life into this beautiful world that like I love to be in every day. And it's almost like I don't want to share it as much as I did when I was at my lowest, because I was like, that's the time where people rally around you. Do you ever feel that it's like lonelier at the top, or how you are so good about balancing and having the right people around you, I guess? Like, how have you been able to protect your peace having it all now that you've built it that way?
Well, firstly, I think you are such a pure person. And
I love you.
Seriously, I think you should share more and more and more than ever how happy you are, because you come from a place of really supporting everyone around you. So I think, you know, if I see you posting about how happy you are and like walking into this house today and seeing Courtney and everything, I'm just like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm like just so happy for you. And I think there's way more people than you think that feel like that. So definitely just share all the good things. And also your long-term followers are going to be like, oh my God, that's so inspiring, because I know how bad she, like in such a bad place she was. And now look at her, like I can do this, I can get out of this. So I think if anything, it shows that major life
progression.
changed.
Yeah.
Like I've been in the same situation really not that long ago. And
can you talk a little bit about like, maybe let's take
Yeah.
it back 5 years? Because one of the questions I actually had for you was you kind of went from being a sports wag, like following around your sports boyfriend,
Yeah.
to building an empire with someone that had built an empire and is building another empire. Like, can you just talk a little bit about where you're comfortable starting with, of
course.
how much your life has evolved?
Yeah. So I have, just to like paint the picture, I feel like I've done every single job under the sun. Like I've worked in a pub, I've worked in a Chinese restaurant, I've worked on a makeup counter, I've done the New York Times, Cosmopolitan magazine. Then I met this amazing, sweet guy called Loris, my ex-boyfriend, and we moved to Switzerland very soon after we met. So I gave up my job, and instantly I felt this like piece of me was taken away. Not through him, it was all my decision. So then when I got to Switzerland, I was like, right, okay, I need to set up my own business. And that's when I launched a swimwear business, which I funnily enough posted this morning.
I saw, yeah.
So yeah, I launched my swimwear business, and very quickly I was in Harvey Nichols and doing like reasonably well for a swimwear startup in like such a saturated place. And
Switzerland.
In Switzerland, like it's quite niche. But yeah, and I think from that point, I was kind of living under his
world.
shadow. Yeah, in his world. And like I genuinely loved football. So I'd drive like 6 hours on my own to like the depths of beyond of Switzerland, stand outside in the winter. Like it wasn't glamorous wag lifestyle. I just want to set the scene. It was not like Manchester United in a box. Like I have arthritis, so I was like standing outside. Couldn't feel my fingers, like minus whatever temperature in Switzerland. So just to set the scene there. Anyway, we were together, and I was obviously very young at the time. You know how it is. You think you're just going to be together forever. And then we broke up. Like quite suddenly we broke up, and I remember him being so sweet and saying like, please use my card. I've been supporting you until now. Like you didn't plan all of this, whatever. Like please let me help you financially. And I was like, no. So much of me wanted to say yes, and then I just said no. Like there's no way. So I found myself back in my parents' house, 18 boxes, like my whole life, just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I was living a really nice life. And then all of a sudden I had nothing and no income. And that for me was like such a powerful rock bottom. And I want to express that like these rock bottom moments, I promise you're on the cusp of something good if you use it.
Yeah.
Because it can be so incredibly transformative. And you look back and you're like, wow. Like I've had a couple of moments where I've been in that situation, and coming out the other end is just incredible. The feeling of empowerment and independence that you get from it, you will never find yourself back in that position.
Let me ask you this as you talk about financial independence, because I think having been with someone where you were kind of like having their credit card and being able to use their resources, to going to rock bottom, being totally financially independent, but having nothing.
Yeah.
Now, where do you feel like you are in terms of like financial independence, being with someone successful, being married? Like, where is your train of thought in terms of what feels right and what feels like you've evolved, and what still is like with you from that moment forward?
So from that moment, I learned, and my mom's always been super successful and driven. So is my dad. They've both worked really hard to have what they have. They've never I grew up in kind of a fairly like middle class background, but they came from nothing, like kind of counselors.
So I guess like growing back, like with money when you were in your childhood, what was your relationship like with money?
Well, we lived like a comfortable life, but it was like one kind of holiday a year type of thing, rather than like this lavish lifestyle that so many people seem to live now. It was so not the case then.
Right.
And we went to private school. Me and my brother had scholarships, and it was just quite a kind of.
But were you like afraid of money back then?
Not when I was younger. But the one thing I would say, being in the situation that I was in when I had to move back, is that my mum always said to me, the thing about having your own money is it gives you freedom.
Yeah.
And that is like ingrained in me. And one day, if I have a daughter, I will tell her, like, doesn't matter how lucky you are, how amazing your situation is with your partner, or, I'm so lucky with Casper, but ultimately, I always have my freedom. I always have my independence. And that's my relationship with money. I would say I'm super driven to build a life with him, but also to have, my own independence in that sense. And I think it just gives you this like calmness inside.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
think like for me, growing up in the situation I grew up in, like I knew from a very young age that I wanted my own money for freedom. Like I didn't want anyone to be able to make decisions for me. And I think the power imbalance comes in, especially when you're dating someone successful, you're married to someone successful, where it's like if it's only their money, then it's only their decision.
Yeah.
And I think for me and for you, one of the
Totally.
we've bonded over is like, obviously there's so many benefits. And one of the things I'm doing now is saying I'm so lucky to be in this situation, but I'm also so deserving of it because it's like I actually fixed a lot of the problems I think I had with even my relationship with money before I got into my current relationship. But I think financial independence is something that I found before I started dating Courtney. And it's something I prioritize after I'm dating Courtney. And it is tricky figuring out like where is that balance, wanting to be feminine, wanting to have my own life, but also merge together. Do you feel like you and Casper have had to have really hard conversations to get to a really good place, or it all just kind of happened really organically for you?
It's interesting because I think a lot of men, not to kind of stereotype, I'm sure it's the other way around as well, but in my experience with kind of seeing friends of mine and different people in the industry, is some men can struggle with the success of their partner. And, it can be a bit of an ego bruise. But I have been lucky in the sense where Casper is like, he is making every single person he sees download my app, and also not a monthly subscription. He makes them do it. Yeah. He's like, don't be cheap. Come on, do the year. So he couldn't be prouder. And I think that's just luck of the draw. But what I will say is if you are in a relationship where you do notice that is coming through, then if that is a strong value of yours, having your own business and your independence and freedom and everything, then I would question whether that would be possible to be long-term for you. So I have just been lucky in that sense, but also we're very open. Like we've actually both just invested. Like I've just done my first investment. We've invested
into a private company or public?
It is private.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this the oat milk?
Yeah.
Okay, love it.
We've both invested in this oat milk company. So I've done 2 rounds. Casper's done 3 rounds. He's heavily invested. And quite kind of operational, which is really fun to see that. But so I think in those scenarios, like we've discussed things, and obviously getting married, you kind of know where you two are at with your own individual finances, and also where you want to go with your life. I think this money is such a taboo topic, which is so bizarre because it shouldn't be. Like it should just be, something that we can discuss, especially between a couple. Like if you're going to spend your life together, sooner or later you're going to need to have these hard discussions, and I think the sooner the better.
Yeah. As it relates to money, you're around things like Dior, you're building your business, which you've invested. You've never raised money for your business, correct?
Yeah, nothing.
So you put everything back into your business that you decide that you want to. You also are this very like organic, free. I think you're this mix of like what my psychic would call vertical and horizontal. Like you care about the things that really make the world go round, love, partnership, family, like those values. But you also love a nice materialistic thing. So I guess like talk to me about where you feel like your head is at in terms of where you're spending your money right now.
Ooh, okay, I love that. So I would say I've actually gone away from like super kind of logo focused purchases.
Okay.
So in terms of like pure, what's the word? Surface level items, I would say I'm investing more in like minimal, timeless stuff. But also nothing excites me more than putting money back into my own business and building my team. I think that is if I can hire another expert to join my team, that's the other thing. I'm like very anti-generalists, very
pro specialists.
Expert. So everyone on my team is an expert. So if I can afford, a yearly salary for someone to join the team, that is what I'm putting my money into.
Okay. And then what about investing? Like, have you caught the investing bug?
Yeah. And especially only something that I'm so incredibly passionate and aligned with in my own life, because then I think it comes so natural. Like, I also have a matcha company and I'm drinking matcha every single day. I found it so difficult to find a good matcha. So natural things like that, I think I would be all over investing. And I love it. I think it's a really smart idea to kind of spread the load.
So you're pretty comfortable talking about money as it relates to like personal stuff, I guess, as we just talked about with your iteration of your role in your company. Do you deal with the finances of like Pilates by Bryony at all, or do you touch that area of the business, or no?
Yeah. So, I mean, as I said, I haven't ever taken investment. I started this business with a tripod, iPhone, and Zoom membership.
Yeah.
So I've always had a handle on the finances. I have my dad working with me full time. So he is kind of my middleman between me and my accountant.
Yeah.
Per now being the COO, he has that overview, and we'll have like monthly meetings of where we're at. So I always want to have like an overview of it, but I don't want to be so
in it.
Yeah, because also I think like if I get so in it and focus on the numbers, I will come away from my like joy of Pilates, and I don't want to be too like day to day involved. So yeah, I definitely have an overview of it, and I'm very lucky that it's been super profitable since day one. So
can we talk about the pricing a little bit? Because one of the questions from the community actually was around your pricing strategy. So I actually don't know, compared to other platforms out there, where do you think your price, are you like expensive, medium, or kind of entry level?
So if you compare to kind of like the entry level price point, so like $10 to $20 a month, I'm more expensive. But if you compare to like the Tracy Andersons of the world, then I'm much cheaper.
What is it per month usually?
So mine is $49.
Okay. And have you ever done a price increase?
No, and I won't.
That's actually something that the community asked me to ask you is like, why have you not ever done a price increase?
So I would never, ever, that's one of our company values. I will never increase the price. I will only add value. And I don't care who tells me otherwise. I will never do that.
Did you just put together an advisory board?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, do you have somebody that's advising you? You just said, like, no matter what anyone tells me, like, do you have advice from different people amongst the sections of your business?
Yeah, so I have just put together an advisory board. Casper is the chairman.
Woo! Courtney's now going to listen to this and be like, I need to be the chairman of Hot Smart Rich.
Yes. Oh my God, he would be the best. And it's really fun. Like, it's just such an amazing group of people, like very, very diverse.
Who's on it?
So Per is on it.
Okay.
Casper's on it. My dad is on it, who is like just super grounded, down to earth, like dad vibes. And then we have Morten Albeck, who is Albeck. I'm probably saying it wrong with the Danish accent. So Morten is an incredible Danish philosopher, written so many incredible books. And his business is all about meaning. So finding meaning in whether it's your corporate job. So he'll advise like millions of people all over the world on giving their employees more meaning in their well-being and day-to-day. So he is a huge part of the advisory board. And yeah, I think we are going to bring one more person on, but TBC on that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a fun thing to have. Like, I have these advisory board meetings now, and it's inspiring. But at the end of the day, like, I think as a founder, you have to be very, very rooted in your mission and your values. If you lose that, you can get sucked into this like whole financial like vortex. It's not about that ultimately. I just want as many people as possible to use this app and to feel the benefits. And I think also it is a more expensive price point, because I think there's a certain level of commitment if you pay for something.
Totally. Like,
You
even
value
events.
So I have a story on that, like on the pricing strategy. When a big turning point in my business was when I did this big January challenge, and I charged £200 for the whole month. And it was on Zoom, so it was live and recorded. And I had like 550 people sign up. So I made over £100,000 in 1 month when I had no money. Like it was insane. Like I had never made that in a year, like not even half of that at that point. So there was this interesting thing that I learned from that. People spent £200. They were not going to miss a single class. Their bodies then changed.
They
then
saw the effects.
Exactly. So I think, obviously, I'm not going to charge £200, but I think there's a certain price point where you feel good about it. You're like, no, I've paid for this. I'm committed. I'm in on this. And also you have breathwork, sound baths, Pilates, recipes, all the lives. Like it's a lot of value for money. So
it's actually so interesting you say that, because one of the things that I really struggled with when I first started was I was giving everything away for free on TikTok. Like every single video was so valuable that it was like, I mean, that's where I got my start and my credibility. But then what I've tried to transition to is this idea that like, that is actually like 10 years of work that I was just giving for free.
Yeah.
And so we started doing this paid section of my newsletter, which has actually turned into like a super profitable part of HSR, which is like recurring revenue. And at first I was like, oh my God, I feel bad asking people to pay $11.99 or $9.99, whatever it is, a month for this part of my business when I was giving it away for free. And it didn't hit like wildfire right away, but now it's actually taken off and has become a super profitable and a prioritized part of our business, because I realized like people find value from it and they're actually paying for it. And it's okay that it's not free. But I think when you're starting your business, you are just trying to drum things up that you're like, I have to do everything for free. And then there's that moment where you're like, no, this is value. This is what people are willing to pay for. If they're willing to spend $10 on a coffee, they're willing to spend $10 on 4 case studies a month.
Totally. And also, when you start to charge, I bet you people are downloading that newsletter with a notebook, making notes, taking it more seriously, and then applying it to their life versus maybe dipping in and dipping out. So I think you should be proud of that value you're offering. And I think one important thing to say is you should still, even though you're building this huge company and, you know, people listening out there like building their brands, I think you still need to gift. I think it's an important value to gift and keep that in you as a person and as a brand. Like I still do free live classes every now and then and Instagram lives. And I think even kind of like adding value, like I set people up from our community with friends like that they've never met in a country that they've met. You need to do that. That is an important thing to do as a human, and an important thing that businesses should take quite seriously, as well as scaling and all these amazing things. You still need to gift.
Okay, can we gift a few memberships to Pilates by Bryony? Let's do a giveaway. We'll figure it out and it will be in the email. And I could talk to you forever. I think it's been over an hour already.
No way. I could talk you.
I know.
So good at this, by the way. You're a natural.
Thank you.
I hope I've done you justice.
Oh my God, you're amazing. I think it's just one of those things where it's funny because I think like this year has been a hugely transformational year for me. And there's people in my life where I'm like I knew I wanted to really invest in and grow stronger with. And that's why we made such an effort after my surgery to like come to London and be there for you, because I think you're one of those people that I can just every single time, this is how I judge people now. Not by what they're wearing or who they are, whatever. It's like, how do I feel when they leave? Do I feel like I'm on the top floor, the main floor, or my basement of my house? Like, not that because we're in the basement right now, but like the top floor is the feeling of like, metaphorically, like just I feel high and energized and high frequency. And like, you're always just one of those people I leave being like, wow, she is such a girl's girl. She is such an amazing person, and I learned so much from you. So I can't thank you enough for doing this.
Well, thank you for saying that. And just very quickly, I have a sweet story about that. One thing I remember from my wedding, and I was completely wasted by the end of the night. Courtney came over to me on the dance floor. And honestly, this is like one of my core memories from the wedding. He came over and was like, "You are such a good friend to Maggie. She really values you." And I know he is so special, and I think you two are like such a good match. So that's like a core memory for me. So I think.
Well, it's funny because I'll tell you why I told him that, because this is actually the best part about being a creator and being an investor and being an entrepreneur is like, I get to test so many different things. And when I did my nude sticks collab, it was so interesting to put myself back in the place of like doing a PR thing, who's posting it, and like the effort and the cost. Like I was finally back in the weeds because I think sometimes I get so far taken out of it that I forget like sometimes when PR is getting sent to me, like how important as a small business it is for people to support. And you just like went so far above and beyond. And I was like, I said to Courtney, I was like, you can just tell that she is a fucking girl's girl and like always has her friends' backs. And I felt that so strongly after I did that launch where I was just like, that it's not what it's about, but it's like, it's something to remember. And he has always just been like, Bryony is someone that like I enjoy being around. And I think it's also very difficult for me. Like Courtney doesn't love everyone. And so when he likes someone, it's like a huge testament to their character.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's have some fun before we finish.
And it was an amazing collab, by the way. So I can like taste it as we talk about it. It's so good.
Okay, some rapid fire.
Okay.
This one's hard for you.
Oh.
You can only pick one for the rest of your life.
Oh my God, I'm stressed.
Matcha or a margarita?
Ooh. You know what? I'm very torn, but I would have to say matcha because I'm not me without a matcha. But close second is a margarita.
Okay. You can only do one for the rest of your life. Abs, arms, butt.
Abs. For sure.
Okay, night in or night out?
Ooh. I would say night out.
Wow, okay. Travel or being home?
Being home.
St. Bart's or Ibiza?
Ooh. St. Bart's. I think there's nowhere on earth like it. Even though Ibiza is incredible.
Okay. Creatine or collagen?
Oh, another good one. I would say creatine.
Okay. Are you doing the Array creatine gummies?
I am.
Okay.
That's
celebrating tonight.
Exactly.
Okay, can't wait. Intermittent fasting or a no-go?
for sure no-go.
Why?
Like wouldn't touch.
Okay, that's a really good one to end on. Why?
So I think for so many people it works, especially men. I think for women it plays havoc typically with your hormones and periods and stress and cortisol. I think we need to wake up and fuel our bodies.
Okay.
I'm
also
a big
agree.
foodie. I eat constantly. I'm obsessed with good food.
Bryony Basse, thank you so much for coming on Hot Smart Rich and just sharing all of the insight and the tips with everyone. Where can people find you?
You can find me on at Bryony Deery right now.
TBD.
TBC, yeah, exactly. At Pilates by Bryony. My matcha company is Cloudsha Matcha. My podcast is Beyond the Mat with Dear Media. And
is, you know what someone else asked me from the community? Is there anything that you're working on, hiring people, putting out that you want people to know? Or how can people get involved with what you're doing?
So everyone can join our community. Mm-hmm. It is like the most inclusive, open space. So for sure, join our community. We link it every newsletter on a Sunday. And I'm always open to hiring new people. We're looking for a full-time videographer, content creator, but next level at the moment. But again, like I'm the type of person, if I meet someone and I think they're special, I would hire
Take
them.
a chance.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on Hot Smart Rich. We love you.
Love you so much. Thank you guys.
Bye.